One of the things I tell every leader who I connect with in a coaching or training or development environment is that we're no longer competing for people's attention. We're competing for their memory. And storytelling is one of the best ways we can engage people to not just have them feel and have emotions around what we're saying, but take the message that we're sending in a story. It just activates every single circuit in our brain and can carry it with them.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I'm Engage president Jake Olson. Alongside me today, a very special guest, an incredible woman, New York Times best-selling author, leadership coach, Marine Corps veteran, Angie Morgan. Angie, one, thank you for your service and everything you've done for us as a country. But two, you are really, again, an incredible woman. You have so much insight. Your books talk a lot about fear and overcoming fear. So I want to know, what was your childhood fear? Was it the dark?
Thank you so much, Jake, for having me on. And I should say, whenever people say thank you for your service, I have to tell them I spent most of my 20s single driving a Jeep Wrangler in Hawaii. So thank you out there, taxpayers, for my service. You gave me such a just wonderful inoculation into adulthood. And yeah, it's funny. One of the answering your question, I'm afraid all the time. One of the fears, this is ironic considering the work that I do. I was super shy growing up. And I would hide behind my mom's knees and I wouldn't talk to anybody. And my mom told me that if you want to go to school, which I did because I had an older sister, she would take the school bus. She would come home telling these tales of crafts, and I was super jealous. But my mom's like, if you want to go to school, you're going to have to start talking to people. And right away, it was like she found the right motivation and she helped me speak. And so, and so here we are today. Who knew that this
No,
would
yeah, I was going to say,
occur?
now you're a professional speaker. I'm sure your mom wants a cut of all your earnings given what she made you do.
She does. She does.
That's really funny, given that, what we're here speaking about today is you being a professional speaker. So that's really awesome. Tell us, and again, more speaking now, your storytelling, how does that influence your leadership, philosophy?
Absolutely. One of the things I tell every leader who I connect with in a coaching or training or development environment is that we're no longer competing for people's attention. We're competing for their memory. And storytelling is one of the best ways we can engage people to not just have them feel and have emotions around what we're saying, but take the message that we're sending in a story. It just activates every single circuit in our brain and can carry it with them. So if you're not using storytelling skills, you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity to really influence people. And so when I speak, I certainly do speak in story because I find that that's the most comfortable format. I'm an English major by training, but that's just the most comfortable way that I find conveying information. But it's really cool as I've been speaking for many years. And people always come up to me later and say, remember the Coca-Cola story or remember the rope story and it's cool. Like they may not always get the message, but they remember the story and how they felt when they heard it.
So you don't have to tell the stories now. I'm just not time, but also I want people to book you to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
or to hear them. But tell us just, just give. You said the Coca-Cola story, but is there like another one or two stories just from a title standpoint that you would, give audiences to look forward to?
Yeah, but there's definitely one where I talk about in my Bet on You keynote about how afraid I was getting an invite to the Pentagon to help advise and guide the organization on integrating women into combat operations. I don't know that I have like a name for that. Like that's not the Coca-Cola, but go call it the Pentagon. Maybe that's happening here right now. That's the Pentagon story.
There you go.
And I talked to about, in the spirit of me being afraid all the time, in Bet on You, the book and the keynote, I just talk about the things in Marine Corps training that you can't train for that scare you to death. Like a lot of the obstacles are height based,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of jumping and leaping. And there was one called the Stairway to Heaven, and it literally was like a vertical wall that you had to climb up and over. But I'm 5'3". And so the obstacle was made for like, average male, which I am not. And just, as you're getting higher, the steps on this ladder get further apart. And it was just one of the scariest things I've ever done.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's actually where I'm glad I can't look down and see the ground. That is one thing I'm grateful for when you talk about heights. So
Yeah.
you talked something about combat burnout, and you help teams kind of overcome resilience and combat burnout. Kind of share some strategies that you give when addressing those issues.
That it's funny that you bring that up and, combating burnout. Everybody in some way, shape, or form feels exhausted or overwhelmed or, just that they don't have much more to give. And one of the very first things that I have people do is get really clear on what it is that they're doing. I have found that if you're not very clear on your direction or your team's direction or, where the organization's going, it can feel monotonous and that can be exhausting. But if you're clear, you might get tired, but you're going to find the motivation to persevere, like you're progressing towards something. Because there's busy doing nothing and there's busy being productive towards a goal. And those two things feel very different.
What steps, practical steps, can leaders take to work on accountability and engagement?
Starting with themselves. I would think that one of the things leaders can be victim of is just being able, I call it the curse of the capable. We have so much talent, skills, and most people in leadership positions, they know that they can do anything. And so they take on sometimes doing everything. So the very first thing when it comes to accountability, I always ask leaders is to check in with themselves. Are you pointing the finger around you or have you pointed the thumb to yourself? Because you're a huge role in the accountability. And so if you feel like you're modeling that great example, then the next step to say is, okay, well, did I clearly communicate expectations? Have I kept the standards high in the organization? And then when you hold people accountable, one of the best phrases I learned in the Marine Corps was be tough on standards, not on people.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you have to have high standards, but don't beat people up. You have to motivate and inspire them too. And you can do that in an accountability conversation.
I love that. I really like that.
Thanks.
So for someone who might be, who've lost momentum with the goal they're trying to achieve, business, I personally use the word setback a lot in my talks. If someone's facing a setback in life, how can they continue to move forward and rebuild confidence to again, continue to move forward?
That's a really great question because I think that's the most human shared experience that we all have. Life isn't perfect. The paths that we create aren't neatly paved. And sometimes it's not even your mistake that holds you back. The best thing that I know go about doing it is just finding the disciplines back in your life that are going to get you back on that path. Life may have derailed you. My friend calls these like mini explosions can happen on your path, which I really just love in my mind because I think we can all see that. But what are the disciplines that are going to get you back? Are you committed to habits, routines, systems that contribute to finding your rhythm again? I think about in a leadership role, we should always see ourselves as the drummer in the band. Now, I know a lot of people want to be the lead singer, and who doesn't want to be the lead singer? But really, it's like you got to get back into that steady beat because as a leader, you're the one who keeps the tone, you keep the pace, everybody coordinates around you. So I like to talk about the not so sexy side of leadership, and it's really discipline. Finding those disciplines are going to get you back to being you.
Love that. Can you give us just one discipline that you use kind of on a daily basis that helps you kind of continue to push? I mean, you've accomplished amazing things. Writing a book is not an easy thing to do. New York Times bestseller. Like, can you give us some disciplines that you've used in your life?
One of the best habits I've fallen into is what I call a zone one habit. And that is what am I doing first thing in the morning? And if it's responding to everybody else's request or picking up my phone, or then suddenly my whole intention of my day is getting hijacked. So I really think about the very first thing that I do in the morning is I go get an Americano and I go write in my journal. And then I start to slowly invite the world into my life, including I'm a parent to two wonderful boys, making breakfast for them. But I really try to leave my day with intention about how do I want to show up in this world? What is the energy I want to bring to the day rather than the world telling me what they want me to be or what they want me to react to.
Journaling first thing in the morning. Angie, your English major is showing.
I know.
my
I know.
my sister was an English major, so I definitely think she would vibe with that.
What was
Very
your
cool.
major, Jake?
I was a business major, so I'm doing spreadsheets in the. No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing spreadsheets in the morning.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I went back to get my MBA, but man, those spreadsheets kicked my butt.
There's something else. The whole Microsoft kind of Excel sheet classes we had to do. They were tough. But um, about your actual speaking, your presentations, you delivering your talks. Pretend I'm an event planner. Kind of what's it like to work with Angie? What's it like to either from a pre-event standpoint, get on a call with you, or even just a presentation standpoint of are you showing slides, are you showing pictures, or what can people expect?
I like to think that I strive to be the lowest maintenance speaker they'll ever work with. I'm a Marine. We carry our own gear in the sense that I hate to put anything more stressful on an event or meeting planner because they already have very, very stressful jobs. So I like to make things very easy with my clients that I work with. When we do our very first call, I really want to know what success looks like because somebody has entrusted them to hire a speaker, plan an event, and outcomes are really important. So I just want to know what they're hoping to drive through their conference, what the conference theme is, how that can tie into my presentation, any language specifically that the client would like to incorporate into my presentation. Like most speakers, I do have standard speeches that I deliver, but they're very tailorable, customizable, because I want to get it right. I want to make sure that the evaluations at the end of my session are, wow, she really gets us. She really knows us. And so I'll work with the meeting planners, but I also do my own research too, to try to make sure that I can weave conference themes and key client messages into the presentation. And then afterwards, who doesn't like a good thank you? I do collect evaluations and love to share those with my clients as a way to share my appreciation for them.
Very cool. All right, Angie, one last question.
Mhm.
Do you still drive a Jeep?
Oh, I wish. I have like a mom car. But there will be a day, Jake, that I'm gonna get that Jeep back.
All right, I'll hold you to it, Angie. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You are an incredible woman and incredible mom, we can tell. And so we just appreciate you letting us help you share your message and just letting us give you a platform to do that. So if you want to learn more about Angie or book her, visit letsengage.com and you can check out her profile there. But with that, Angie, thank you again.
Well, thank you guys. You at Engage are just the best. So I really appreciate the opportunity for today and just working with you, Jake.
Thank you. All right, stay tuned for more Engage Presents.